The check sat on the leather seat between them, $10,000 written in elegant cursive, but Marcus Turner pushed it back across the console with trembling hands. "I can't take this," he whispered, his voice breaking as he looked at the woman who just tried to change his life with a single signature, never knowing she already had. Before we dive into this incredible story of fate, kindness, and the power of human connection, make sure to hit that subscribe button because tomorrow we're sharing another soul-stirring tale that will restore your faith in humanity. The rain hammered against the windshield of Marcus Turner's Toyota Camry as he pulled up to the gleaming high-rise on Michigan Avenue. Chicago's skyline blurred through the downpour, each streetlight creating halos in the darkness. He checked the app again. Vivian Chin, pickup at 11:47 p.m., destination, O'Hare International Airport. Just another late-night airport run. Another fare to add to the 16-hour shift he'd been pulling to make rent. Marcus rubbed his eyes, the exhaustion settling deep in his bones. In the back seat, carefully secured in a booster seat, his 6-year-old son Jalen slept soundly, wrapped in his favorite Spider-Man blanket. It wasn't ideal, bringing his son along on late-night drives, but the babysitter had canceled last minute, and missing a Friday night shift meant missing grocery money. The building's doorman held an umbrella as a woman emerged from the lobby, pulling a single suitcase behind her. Even through the rain-streaked window, Marcus could see she moved with purpose, her charcoal coat pristine despite the weather. She was younger than he expected, maybe early 30s, with long dark hair pulled back in a simple ponytail. As she approached the car, she paused, noticing the child in the back seat. Marcus's stomach tightened. Some passengers complained about kids in the car. He'd already had his rating dinged twice this month for it. He lowered the window slightly. "I'm sorry, ma'am. My regular sitter fell through. He's very quiet. Won't bother you at all. If you'd prefer another driver." "Don't be silly," Vivian said, her voice warm despite the cold rain. "A father doing what he needs to do? Nothing to apologize for." She slid into the back seat, careful not to disturb Jalen, and settled her suitcase beside her. As Marcus pulled away from the curb, he caught her reflection in the rearview mirror. She was looking at Jalen with an expression he couldn't quite read, something between sadness and recognition. "What's his name?" she asked softly. "Jalen," Marcus replied, navigating through the empty streets. "He's 6. Usually he'd be home in bed, but..." He trailed off, not wanting to burden a passenger with his problems. "Life doesn't always follow the plan," Vivian finished for him. "Trust me, I understand that better than most." Something in her tone made Marcus glance back again. Despite her polished appearance, the designer coat, the subtle but expensive jewelry, there was a weariness in her eyes that he recognized. It was the same look he saw in his own mirror every morning. "Late flight?" he asked, making the kind of small talk that usually filled these rides. "Red-eye to Seattle," she said. "Board meeting first thing Monday morning. The glamorous life of a CEO." She said it with a self-deprecating laugh that suggested it was anything but glamorous. Marcus's hands tightened on the wheel. CEO? Of course. The address, the clothes, the casual mention of board meetings. She was everything he used to pretend he might become, back before life had humbled him with its harsh realities. Back before Keisha got sick, before the medical bills, before he lost everything, trying to save the woman he loved, and still lost her anyway. "That sounds demanding," he managed, keeping his voice neutral. "It is," Vivian admitted. "But we do what we have to do, right? For the people who depend on us." Jalen stirred in his sleep, mumbling something about dinosaurs. Both adults smiled. "Does he always come with you on late shifts?" Vivian asked. Marcus felt heat creep up his neck. "Not always, just when I can't find coverage. I know it's not ideal." "You're doing your best," she interrupted gently. "That's all any of us can do." They drove in comfortable silence for a few minutes, the rain creating a cocoon around the car. Then Vivian spoke again. "Can I ask you something? And please, feel free not to answer if it's too personal." Marcus nodded, curious despite himself. "His mother? Is she in the picture?" The question hit like a physical blow, but somehow coming from her, in that gentle tone, it didn't feel invasive. "She passed," Marcus said quietly. 2 years ago, cancer." "I'm sorry," Vivian whispered. "That kind of loss, it changes you." "Yeah," Marcus agreed, his voice thick. "It does." "My husband died 3 years ago," she offered, so quietly he almost missed it. "Heart attack at 35. One day he was there, planning our future, talking about kids we'd have someday. The next day, everything we'd built together was just gone. Marcus met her eyes in the mirror. "I'm sorry for your loss." She gave him a sad smile. "Thank you. It's strange, isn't it? How grief makes you part of this club you never wanted to join. But suddenly you can spot other members from across a room. The way they hold themselves," Marcus agreed, "like they're carrying something invisible but heavy." "Exactly." Vivian looked out the window at the passing city. "Is that why you drive nights? To keep busy?" Marcus considered lying, giving her the easy answer. But something about this moment, this unexpected connection in the middle of a rainy night, demanded honesty. "Partly, but mostly because the rates are better, and I need every dollar. Medical debt doesn't care that she's gone. Still got about $40,000 to pay off, plus regular life, rent, food, clothes he's growing out of every few months." He hadn't meant to say that much. The words had just tumbled out like a dam breaking. "I'm sorry," he started. "You don't need to hear." "Stop apologizing," Vivian said firmly. "You're talking to someone who once sold her wedding ring to make payroll for her company. We all have our struggles." Marcus glanced back again, reassessing. "You built your own company?" "My husband and I did. Together. Tech startup. After he died, everyone expected me to fail. Board members circled like vultures, waiting to buy me out for pennies." A fierce pride entered her voice. "I didn't let them. Threw myself into the work, 18-hour days, 7 days a week. The company thrived. We went public last year." "That's incredible," Marcus said, genuinely impressed. "Is it?" Vivian's voice turned contemplative. "I have everything I'm supposed to want. Success, money, respect. But I eat dinner alone every night. I wake up reaching for someone who isn't there. I throw myself into work because when I stop moving, the silence is deafening." She paused. "Success doesn't cure loneliness." Jalen shifted again, his blanket slipping. Without hesitation, Vivian leaned forward and gently tucked it back around him. The gesture was so natural, so maternal, that it made Marcus's chest ache. "You'd have been a good mom," he said without thinking, then immediately regretted it. "I'm sorry, that was—" "Thank you," she said simply. "We were trying when he died. Another dream that went with him." She was quiet for a moment. "Tell me about Jalen. What's he like?" Marcus felt a smile tug at his lips, the way it always did when he talked about his son. "He's brilliant. Loves dinosaurs. Can name every type and spell them too. Reads at a 3rd grade level already. His teachers say he's gifted." His smile faded. "I just wish I could give him more. He deserves more than a dad who's barely keeping his head above water. He has a father who loves him enough to work 16-hour days," Vivian countered. "Who brings him along rather than miss time together. That's worth more than all the toys and private schools in the world." They were nearing the airport now, the signs becoming more frequent. Marcus felt an unexpected disappointment. In 20 minutes, this strange, honest conversation would end, and they'd go back to being strangers. "Can I tell you something?" Vivian said suddenly. "This is my 4th Uber to the airport this month. Every other driver has either tried to pitch me a business idea or spent the whole ride complaining. You're the first one who's just been real." "Well, you're the first passenger who's asked about my son without judging," Marcus replied. As they entered the departure lane, Vivian pulled out her phone. "I know this is unconventional, but would you mind if I sent you something? Just put your number in here." Marcus hesitated. Passengers didn't usually ask for personal contact, but something about her felt different, safe. He pulled over at the curb and entered his number. "There," she said, then reached for her purse. "Now, about payment. It's already handled through the app," Marcus said, popping the trunk for her suitcase. "I meant a tip," Vivian said. She pulled out her checkbook, who even carried checkbooks anymore, and began writing. "For the conversation. For reminding me I'm not alone in this grief. For being a good father when the world makes it so hard." She tore off the check and held it out. Marcus's eyes widened as he saw the amount. $10,000. "I can't," he said immediately, pushing it back. That's too much. That's insane." "It's nothing to me," Vivian said matter-of-factly. "I made 50 times that in the last month alone, but I can see in your eyes it would change your life. Take it, pay off some of that debt. Get ahead instead of just treading water." Marcus stared at the check, his hands trembling. $10,000. It would cover 3 months of rent, or make a serious dent in the medical bills, or pay for the after-school program Jalen wanted to join. But something in his chest rebelled against it. "I can't," he repeated, his voice stronger now. "Not like this. I'm not a charity case. I don't take handouts." "It's not charity," Vivian insisted. "It's one human being helping another." "No," Marcus said firmly, though saying it felt like swallowing glass. "Thank you, truly. But I can't start teaching my son that we take shortcuts, that we accept money we didn't earn." What kind of example would I be setting? Vivian studied him for a long moment, something shifting in her expression. "You're serious." "Dead serious," Marcus confirmed. "We make our own way. It's harder. It takes longer. But we keep our dignity. That's what I'm teaching him. Even if it means 16-hour days? Even if it means he has to sleep in the back seat while you work?" "Even then," Marcus said, "because one day he'll understand that his dad never compromised his values, never took the easy way out. That's worth more than money." What happened next would transform not just one life, but create ripples that would touch thousands. As rain continued to fall on that cold Chicago night, two strangers stood at a crossroads, not knowing that their chance meeting was about to become something far more powerful than either could imagine. If you're touched by stories of integrity and human connection, make sure to like and subscribe to hear what incredible thing happened next. Vivian stood there in the rain, holding the rejected check, studying Marcus with an intensity that made him want to look away. But he didn't. He met her gaze steadily, even as every practical part of his brain screamed at him to just take the money. "You know what?" she said finally, folding the check and putting it back in her purse. "You're right. This isn't the way." She glanced back at Jalen, still sleeping peacefully despite the discussion happening just feet away. "But I'm not giving up on helping you. I just need to find the right way." "Ma'am, you don't owe me anything," Marcus started, but she held up a hand. "Vivian. My name is Vivian, not ma'am. And I'm not doing this because I owe you. I'm doing it because for the first time in 3 years, someone made me feel less alone in my grief. Do you know how valuable that is?" Before Marcus could respond, an airport security officer approached. "Folks, you need to wrap it up. No parking in the loading zone." "1 minute," Vivian told him, then turned back to Marcus. "Check your phone tomorrow afternoon. Promise me." "Vivian, promise me," she repeated. Marcus nodded reluctantly. "Okay." She grabbed her suitcase and headed toward the terminal, then paused and looked back. "Your wife would be proud of the man you are, Marcus. And the father. Don't ever doubt that." Then she was gone, disappearing into the crowded terminal, leaving Marcus standing in the rain with a strange mix of pride and regret churning in his stomach. The drive home was quiet, except for the rhythmic swish of windshield wipers and Jalen's soft breathing. Marcus's mind kept replaying the conversation, the check, the look in Vivian's eyes when he'd refused it. $10,000. He'd held $10,000 in his hands and given it back. His mother would have called him a fool. Hell, he was calling himself a fool, but deep down, he knew he'd done the right thing. The same knowing that had guided him through the darkest days after Keisha's death, that had kept him going when everything seemed hopeless. His integrity was one of the few things he had left to give his son. By the time he carried Jalen up to their second-floor apartment, the rain had stopped. He tucked his son into bed, kissing his forehead gently. "Dream good dreams, little man," he whispered. In his own room, Marcus sat on the edge of the bed and pulled out the photo he kept in his nightstand, him and Keisha on their wedding day, both of them glowing with joy and possibility. "I turned down $10,000 tonight," he told her picture. "Either I'm the strongest man alive or the dumbest, maybe both." He could almost hear her laugh, that beautiful sound that had filled their home with warmth. She would have understood. She always understood. The next morning came too soon. Saturday meant double shifts day and night if he could manage it. The weekend warriors were out in force, needing rides to brunch, shopping, clubs. Marcus dropped Jalen at his sister's house, promising to pick him up by bedtime. "Daddy, can we go to the museum tomorrow?" Jalen asked as they said goodbye. "They have a new dinosaur exhibit." Marcus did quick mental math. Museum admission, parking, lunch. "We'll see, buddy. Maybe next month." Jalen nodded, used to hearing maybe next month. He was too young to understand that next month never seemed to come. The morning shift passed in a blur of short rides and decent tips. Marcus had almost forgotten about Vivian's promise to check his phone when it buzzed with a text from an unknown number at 2 p.m. "Hi, Marcus. It's Vivian. I hope you don't mind, but I did some research. Your integrity impressed me, but I understand pride. So I have a different proposition. No handouts, just an opportunity. Can you video call in 10 minutes? Marcus was between rides. He parked in a McDonald's lot and typed back, "I can talk." 10 minutes later, his phone rang with a video call request. He answered to find Vivian in what looked like a home office, Seattle's skyline visible through the window behind her. "Hi," she said, smiling. "How's Jalen?" "Good. At his aunt's house, terrorizing her cats," Marcus replied, managing a small smile. "Perfect. Okay, so here's what I'm thinking." Vivian leaned forward, her expression serious but warm. "My company, Chen Technologies, is expanding our corporate transportation services. We're tired of the unreliability of traditional car services. We want to build our own fleet with dedicated drivers who understand professionalism and discretion." Marcus listened, unsure where this was going. "I need a Chicago coordinator," Vivian continued. "Someone to recruit drivers, manage schedules, ensure quality service. The position comes with a base salary of $75,000 plus benefits, full health coverage, including dental and vision, company car for personal use, flexible hours so you can be there for your son." Marcus felt his mouth go dry. "Vivian, I don't have experience in corporate management. I didn't even finish college." "You managed to keep a 6-year-old safe and happy while working 16-hour shifts?" she interrupted. "You maintained perfect ratings despite having your son in the car. You turned down $10,000 because of your principles. Those are the qualifications I'm looking for." "This feels like charity with extra steps," Marcus said carefully. "No," Vivian said firmly. "This is me making a smart business decision. I've built my company by finding good people in unexpected places. My CFO was a night school student working 3 jobs when I met her. My head of development was debugging code in his garage. I don't hire resumes, Marcus. I hire character." She pulled up a presentation on her screen, sharing it so he could see. "Look, here's our expansion plan. Chicago is one of 5 cities we're targeting. I need someone who knows the city, understands what drivers go through, and can build something from the ground up. That's you." Marcus studied the presentation, his business mind dormant since he dropped out of college to care for Keisha, slowly awakening. "What about the drivers? Would they be contractors or employees?" "Employees," Vivian said without hesitation. "Full benefits, guaranteed hours, living wages. We're trying to build something better, not just another gig economy exploitation machine." "And you think I can run this?" "I think you already run a one-man operation every day. This would just be scaling up." She paused. "Plus, you wouldn't be alone. We'd provide training, support, whatever you need. The question is, are you willing to take a chance on yourself the way you take chances every day just to survive?" Marcus was quiet for a long moment, his mind racing. This wasn't a handout. It was a job offer, a real one, with expectations and responsibilities. But it was also a lifeline, a way out of the endless cycle of barely making it. "What would Keisha want you to do?" Vivian asked gently, and Marcus's head snapped up in surprise. "You mentioned her name last night. Several times. She's still very much with you." "She'd want me to stop being scared," Marcus admitted. "She always said I was meant for more than I allowed myself to believe." "Smart woman," Vivian said. "So what do you say? Will you at least come to Seattle for an interview? We'll fly you out tomorrow, have you back by evening. Your sister can watch Jalen." Marcus thought about Jalen's request for the museum, about the medical bills piling up, about the college fund that existed only in his dreams. Then he thought about Keisha, about promises made and dreams deferred. "Yes," he said, the word coming out stronger than he expected. "Yes, I'll come." Vivian's professional mask slipped, revealing genuine delight. "Wonderful. I'll have my assistant send you the flight details." "And Marcus, this isn't charity. This is business. I expect excellence." "You'll get it," Marcus promised. After they hung up, he sat in the parking lot for several minutes, staring at his phone. Then he dialed his sister. "Denise?" "Yeah, it's me. Listen, can you watch Jalen overnight tomorrow? I've got a job interview, a real one." He paused, listening to her excited questions. "Yeah, I know. It's been a while since I said that. But I think things might be about to change." That night, as he tucked Jalen into bed, his son asked, "Daddy, are you happy?" The question caught Marcus off guard. "Why do you ask, buddy? You were singing in the car. You only sing when you're happy." Marcus realized he had been humming Keisha's favorite song. "Yeah, Little man, I think I might be happy, or at least heading that way. Good, Jalen said decisively. Mommy would want you to be happy. Marcus kissed his forehead, blinking back sudden tears. You're right. She would. The flight to Seattle the next morning was Marcus's first time on a plane in 5 years. He'd worn his only suit, the one from Keisha's funeral, though he'd managed to find a newer tie at Goodwill. His hands shook slightly as the plane lifted off, but it wasn't from fear of flying. A car waited for him at SeaTac, the driver holding a sign with his name. Marcus almost laughed at the reversal. The Chin Technologies building was all glass and steel, reaching toward the cloudy Seattle sky with quiet confidence. Inside, Vivian met him in the lobby, dressed in jeans and a blazer, more casual than their first meeting, but no less commanding. Nervous? She asked, leading him to the elevator. Terrified, Marcus admitted. Good. Complacency kills growth. The elevator rose smoothly, and she continued. I want you to meet some people, see the operation, understand what we're building here. But Marcus, you've already got the job if you want it. This is about making sure we're the right fit for you too. The next 3 hours were a whirlwind of meetings, presentations, and conversations. Marcus met the CFO. Vivian had mentioned Maria, a fierce woman who'd put herself through night school while raising 3 kids. He met the head of development, Jerome, who showed him the app they were building for the transportation service. Driver First Design, Jerome explained. Everything built around making their lives easier, not just maximizing rides. Every person Marcus met had a story. A single mom who'd been given a chance, a formerly homeless veteran who now ran cybersecurity, a former rideshare driver who'd helped design their driver benefit package. It wasn't just a company. It was a collection of second chances. Finally, Vivian brought him to a quiet conference room overlooking the city. So, she said, settling into a chair across from him. What do you think? I think you're building something special, Marcus said honestly. But I still don't understand why me. One conversation in an Uber doesn't explain this. Vivian was quiet for a moment, then stood and walked to the window. Can I tell you something I've never told anyone at this company? Marcus nodded. 3 years ago, the night my husband died, I was at this office, working late, as always. He called, said he wasn't feeling well, asked if I could come home. I told him to take some antacids, that I'd be home in an hour. I had a presentation to finish. Her voice grew thick. He was dead when I got there. Massive heart attack. The doctor said even if I'd been there, I probably couldn't have saved him. But I'll never know, will I? She turned back to Marcus. I threw myself into work because I couldn't face the guilt, built this company into something he'd be proud of. But somewhere along the way, I forgot why we started it in the first place. To create something human in an inhuman industry, to prove business could have a heart. She sat back down. Then I met you. A man working himself to death but still making time to be a father. Choosing integrity over easy money. Grieving but not bitter. You reminded me why we do this. Not for the IPO or the valuation, but for the people. Marcus felt the weight of her words, the trust she was placing in him. I won't let you down, he said simply. I know you won't. She slid a folder across the table. Official offer. Take your time, read it over. The salary is negotiable if... It's more than generous, Marcus interrupted, scanning the numbers. It was more than he dared to dream. There's one more thing, Vivian said, a small smile playing at her lips. Page 3. Marcus flipped to the 3rd page and froze. Signing bonus, 40, 0. To clear your debts, Vivian explained. Not charity, standard executive relocation bonus. Can't have my Chicago coordinator distracted by old obligations. Marcus's vision blurred. 40,000. The exact amount he owed in medical debt? How did you... I told you I did research, Vivian said gently. Marcus, I've learned something in my years building this company. Sometimes the universe puts people in each other's paths for a reason. We can ignore it, or we can lean into it and see where it leads. Marcus thought about Keisha, about signs and chances and the courage to say yes to life again. When do I start? How about 2 weeks? Gives you time to wrap up things in Chicago, find an apartment here, get Jalen enrolled in school. We have an excellent elementary school partnership, by the way. They'd love a dinosaur expert. Actually, Marcus said, making a decision that surprised him, I'd like to stay in Chicago if the position allows it. Build the operation there. Jalen's whole life is there, his aunt, his friends, his mother's grave. I can't take that from him. Vivian nodded approvingly. Even better, local leadership, deep community roots. I should have thought of that. She stood, extending her hand. Welcome to Chen Technologies, Marcus. Let's build something extraordinary. As they shook hands, Marcus felt something shift inside him, like tectonic plates realigning after an earthquake. Hope, real hope, not just the desperate kind that gets you through each day, but the expansive kind that lets you dream again. The flight home felt different. Marcus spent it filling notebooks with ideas, driver recruitment strategies, training programs, ways to ensure drivers could make a living wage without working 16-hour days. By the time he landed, he had a dozen pages of notes and a fire in his belly he hadn't felt in years. Denise was waiting with Jalen when he got home. His son ran to him, leaping into his arms. "Daddy, Aunt Dee said you got a new job, a big important one." "That's right, buddy," Marcus said, holding him tight. "Things are going to be different now. Does that mean we can go to the museum?" Marcus laughed, really laughed, for the first time in months. "Yes, little man, we can go to the museum, and a lot of other places too." That night, after Jalen was asleep, Marcus sat at their small kitchen table with his laptop, researching everything he could about corporate transportation, fleet management, employee relations. He was starting from behind, but he'd catch up. He had to. His phone buzzed with a text from Vivian. "Stop studying and get some sleep. You've got a company to build." He smiled, typing back, "Just a little more. Want to hit the ground running. That's why I hired you. But Marcus, take care of yourself too. Your son needs his father healthy and happy, not just successful." It was advice Keisha would have given. Marcus closed the laptop and went to check on Jalen one more time. His son had kicked off his blankets, as usual. As Marcus tucked him back in, Jalen stirred. "Daddy? Yeah, buddy? Are we going to be okay now?" Marcus smoothed his son's hair. "Yeah, little man, we're going to be more than okay." And for the first time since Keisha died, he actually believed it. 2 weeks later, Marcus stood in front of a small office space on Chicago's South Side. It wasn't fancy, just a converted storefront with good parking and easy access to public transit. But it was his to build. The Chen Technologies logo looked sharp on the window, with Chicago Division underneath. Inside, 3 people waited for their interviews, his first potential hires as driver coordinators. He'd found them through community connections, a former bus driver who knew every street in the city, a military veteran with logistics experience, and a young woman who'd been organizing informal rideshare groups for hospital workers. "Thank you all for coming," Marcus began, feeling the weight of leadership but not letting it show. "Let me tell you what we're building here. This isn't just another driving service. This is about creating careers, not gigs, about serving our community while taking care of our own. If that sounds like something you want to be part of, let's talk." Over the next month, Marcus threw himself into building the Chicago operation. He recruited drivers carefully, looking for professionalism but also heart. He partnered with local mechanic shops for vehicle maintenance, creating jobs beyond just driving. He established relationships with hotels, businesses, and event venues, selling them on the reliability of having dedicated, well-treated drivers. Vivian visited once a month, but mostly she let him run things his way. "I hired you to bring your perspective," she reminded him during one video call. "Don't try to be me, be you." The breakthrough came when Marcus landed a contract with Northwestern Memorial Hospital. They needed reliable transportation for staff working odd shifts, especially those who couldn't afford parking downtown. Marcus understood their needs intimately. How many nights had Keisha worked late at that very hospital, struggling to find safe transportation home? "We guarantee pickup within 15 minutes, he told the administrator. "Our drivers are employees, not contractors, so they're accountable, and they're all background checked, trained in basic medical privacy laws, and understand the unique needs of healthcare workers." The contract was worth $2 million annually. It would employ 30 drivers full-time with benefits. When the administrator signed, Marcus had to excuse himself to the bathroom, where he stood gripping the sink and fighting back tears of relief and pride. That night, he took Jalen to the museum as promised. As they stood before the massive T-Rex skeleton, Jalen's eyes wide with wonder, Marcus felt Keisha's presence strongly. "We did it, baby," he whispered. "We're gonna be okay." "What, Daddy?" Jalen asked. "Nothing, buddy. Just happy to be here with you." 6 months into the job, Chin Technology's Chicago division was thriving. They'd expanded to 60 drivers, added a small maintenance facility, and were in talks with the city about providing transportation for elderly residents to medical appointments. Marcus had hired 2 assistants and was training them to eventually run their own divisions in Milwaukee and Detroit. But success wasn't just measured in contracts and revenue. It was in the drivers who could now afford health insurance for their families. It was in Carlos, a former Uber driver, able to buy his daughter a quinceañera dress without going into debt. It was in Sharon, a single grandmother, who could work reasonable hours and still make ends meet. One evening, as Marcus was leaving the office, he found Vivian waiting by his car. She was in town for a board meeting, but had made an unexpected detour. "Surprise inspection?" Marcus asked, though her smile told him otherwise. "Hardly. I came to say thank you." She leaned against his car, looking more relaxed than he'd ever seen her. "6 months ago, I was going through the motions, building an empire but forgetting why. You reminded me that business can be personal, that success means nothing if it doesn't lift others." "You gave me the chance," Marcus replied. "I just ran with it." "No," Vivian corrected. "You did so much more. You showed me that integrity isn't a luxury, it's a necessity, that choosing the harder path sometimes leads to better destinations." They stood in comfortable silence for a moment before Vivian continued. "I'm announcing something at tomorrow's board meeting. We're creating the Chen Turner Foundation. Microgrants for single parents starting businesses. No lengthy applications, no red tape, just people helping people. The way you helped me, remember why that matters." Marcus's throat tightened. "Vivian, I don't know what to say. Say you'll help me run it. Part-time, of course. Your division here needs you. But Marcus, think of how many people are out there driving nights with their kids in the back seat, just trying to survive. We can help them." "Yes," Marcus said immediately. "Absolutely yes." As Vivian left for her hotel, she turned back. "Oh, there's one more thing. Check your mailbox when you get home." Curious, Marcus drove home to find a large envelope waiting. Inside were 2 tickets to Disney World, hotel reservations, and a note. "Every boy should see dinosaurs and Mickey Mouse. Consider it a mandatory corporate retreat. V." That night, as he showed Jalen the tickets, his son's joy was so pure, it took his breath away. They danced around the living room, Jalen shrieking with excitement, planning every ride they'd experience. "Can we tell Mommy?" Jalen asked suddenly, growing serious. Marcus's heart clenched. "Of course we can, buddy." They drove to the cemetery the next day, Jalen clutching the Disney tickets like treasure. At Keisha's grave, covered in fresh flowers Marcus brought weekly, Jalen chattered excitedly about the trip, about Daddy's new job, about the nice lady who made it all happen. Marcus stood quietly, his hand on the headstone. "I kept my promise," he whispered. "I'm taking care of him, and finally, I'm taking care of myself too. You'd be proud of your boys, Keish. We're gonna be okay." As they walked back to the car, Jalen slipped his small hand into Marcus's larger one. "Daddy, I think Mommy's happy we're happy." "I think so too, little man. I think so too." 1 year later, the Chen Technologies annual conference brought together employees from all 5 cities. Marcus stood on stage, sharing the Chicago division's success story. They'd grown to 200 employees, expanded into 3 cities, and maintained a 98% driver retention rate unheard of in the transportation industry. But the numbers weren't what made him proud. It was the faces in the audience, drivers who'd become dispatchers, dispatchers who'd become managers, single parents who'd found not just jobs but careers. It was Vivian, beaming from the front row, having found purpose again in building something that mattered. After his presentation, Marcus found a quiet corner and video called Jalen, who was at space camp for the week, his interest having evolved from dinosaurs to the stars. "How was the speech, Dad?" Jalen asked, his face filling the screen. "Good, I think. How's camp?" "Amazing. We built rockets today. Real ones. Well, small ones. But they actually flew." Marcus smiled at his son's enthusiasm. At 7, Jalen had grown into a confident, curious boy who believed anything was possible, because he'd watched his father prove it was. "I'm proud of you, buddy," Marcus said. "I'm proud of you too, Dad. Mom would be really proud." After they hung up, Marcus noticed a text from an unknown number. He opened it to find a simple message. "Saw an article about your company's success. You probably don't remember me, but I was behind you in line at the airport that night in the rain. I saw you refuse that money, saw you choose principles over shortcuts. It inspired me to make better choices in my own life. Thank you." Marcus stared at the message, remembering how many people had been watching that night, how his choice had seemed foolish to everyone except the woman offering the check. He thought about ripples, how one decision could spread outward in ways you never imagined. Vivian appeared beside him. "Ready for the gala dinner? You're sitting at the head table." "Still feels surreal sometimes," Marcus admitted. "What does?" "All of it. That night, I was just trying to get through one more shift. Now." He gestured at the bustling conference around them. "Now you're changing lives," Vivian finished. "Including mine." She paused. "Can I tell you something? That $10,000 check you refused? I kept it. It's framed in my office, uncashed. A reminder that integrity isn't for sale, and the best investments aren't always financial. And the best tips," Marcus added with a smile, "aren't always money." She laughed. "Exactly. Sometimes they're job offers from stubborn CEOs who don't take no for an answer." As they walked toward the gala ballroom, Marcus caught his reflection in a mirror. The exhausted Uber driver was gone, replaced by a confident executive. But the core remained the same, a man who chose the hard path because it was right, who measured success not in dollars, but in lives changed. "Hey, Vivian," he called as she walked ahead. She turned. "Yeah? Thank you for seeing something in me I'd forgotten was there." "Thank you," she replied, "for reminding me why I started this journey in the first place." "Partners? Partners," he agreed. And they walked into the gala together, two souls who'd found each other in the rain, bound not by romance but by something deeper. Shared purpose, mutual respect, and the understanding that sometimes the most valuable currency isn't money at all. It's the choice to see potential where others see problems, to offer opportunities instead of handouts, and to build something larger than yourself, one principled decision at a time. 3 years after that rainy night in Chicago, the Chin Turner Foundation had distributed over $10 million in microgrants to single parents starting businesses. The transportation company had expanded to 15 cities, employing thousands of drivers with living wages and benefits. Marcus had been featured on the cover of Business Week, the Uber driver who refused a tip and built an empire on integrity. But on this particular evening, he sat in a much smaller, more intimate setting. Jalen's school auditorium was packed for the 4th grade career day presentations. When it was Jalen's turn, he walked confidently to the microphone, wearing a little suit that matched his father's. "My dad is my hero," Jalen began, his voice clear and strong. "Not because he's successful now, but because he was my hero when we didn't have anything. He taught me that being rich isn't about money. It's about being rich in character, in love, in the choices you make when no one's watching." Marcus felt tears prick his eyes as his son continued. 3 years ago, a lady tried to give my dad a lot of money, and he said no because it wasn't earned. That lady ended up giving him something better a chance. But he always tells me she didn't really give him anything. She just saw what was already there. The same thing Mom saw. The same thing I've always seen. My dad is proof that good things happen when you stay true to who you are. The auditorium erupted in applause. Marcus stood, not caring who saw the tears streaming down his face. Jalen ran off the stage and into his arms. "Did I do good, Dad?" "You did perfect, little man, perfect." From across the auditorium, Marcus caught sight of a familiar face. Vivian had flown in for the presentation, sitting quietly in the back row. She gave him a small wave and a thumbs up, then slipped out quietly, leaving the moment to father and son. Later that night, after Jalen was asleep, Marcus sat on his balcony, not a luxury penthouse, but a nice apartment with a view of the lake. He'd chosen it because it was in the same neighborhood where he'd driven all those nights, where his journey had begun. His phone buzzed with a message from Vivian. Jalen's presentation was beautiful. Keisha would be so proud of both her boys. Safe flight tomorrow? Marcus was flying to D.C. the next morning to testify before Congress about sustainable employment practices in the gig economy. It was a far cry from the desperate driver who'd once counted pennies for gas. "Safe flight," he confirmed. "Thanks for coming tonight. It meant a lot. Wouldn't have missed it. Get some rest, partner. You're changing the world tomorrow." "One ride at a time," Marcus replied, using their company motto. He set down the phone and looked out at the city lights, each one representing a life, a story, a struggle. Somewhere out there was another single parent driving through the night, wondering how they'd make it. Marcus whispered a prayer that they'd find their own Vivian, their own second chance. But more than that, he hoped they'd find the strength. He'd almost lost the strength to say no to easy answers, to hold on to their integrity even when it cost everything, to believe that the hard path sometimes leads to the most beautiful destinations. A shooting star streaked across the Chicago sky. Marcus didn't make a wish. He'd learned that wishes weren't nearly as powerful as choices, and he'd already made the choice that changed everything. To be the man his son could be proud of, the man Keisha had always believed he could be, the man who refused a 10-0 tip and gained a life worth infinitely more. As he headed inside to check on Jalen one more time before bed, Marcus paused at his son's door, watching him sleep peacefully. On the wall hung 3 pictures, one of Keisha, one of their little family when it was complete, and one from last year's company picnic. Marcus, Jalen, and Vivian laughing as they attempted to fly a kite that kept crashing. "Thank you," Marcus whispered to all of them, to Keisha for believing, to Vivian for seeing, and to Jalen for being the reason to keep going when the road seemed impossibly dark. Tomorrow would bring new challenges, new opportunities, new chances to make a difference. But tonight, in this quiet moment, Marcus Turner, former Uber driver, current executive, forever father, was exactly where he needed to be. He'd learned the greatest tip of all, that sometimes what looks like an ending is really a beginning. And the most valuable currency in life isn't what you're willing to take, but what you're strong enough to give and wise enough to refuse. The rest, as they say, was just the journey. One ride, one choice, one act of integrity at a time. If this story touched your heart and reminded you that integrity and perseverance can transform lives, please subscribe to our channel. Click one of the 2 stories on your screen for another powerful tale of hope, humanity, and the unexpected ways we change each other's lives. Remember, sometimes the greatest gifts come not from what we accept, but from what we have the courage to refuse. Until next time, drive safe, dream big, and never underestimate the power of doing the right thing.